So, welcome to today's Vision Channel session. We are excited to have you here today. Not every application is best suited to a standard product. Sometimes there are special requirements that makes all the difference. This is precisely the topic of today's presentation, customized camera solutions. As an industrial camera manufacturer, we are familiar with the typical challenges that many of our customers face. That's why my colleague Moritz Fuchs, project manager for special projects and developments at IDS, will take you on a practical look behind the scenes of customer-specific camera developments. You will see how an idea is turned into a tailor-made solution efficiently, cooperatively, and with maximum planning reliability. You will see the customization options that IDS can offer, from mechanics to electronics to software and firmware, and what a typical project workflow looks like from the initial contact to serious production. And of course, why IDS is a reliable partner when it comes to individual requirements. Moritz will address specific challenges such as what do I actually have to supply as a customer? Is a customized development cost effective for a project? And what about maintenance and long-term availability? The goal of today's session is not only to provide you with technical insights, but also to clarify the process, communication, and economic aspects. So if you have specific requirements for your image processing solution and want to take the next step towards customization, then you're right in this place here. You can look forward to an informative talk, and I encourage you to ask your questions via the Zoom's Q&A module. We will address them after the presentation. With that in mind, let us begin with the topic. Moritz, welcome today.
Hello.
To the Vision Channel session. It's great to have you here today to answer the questions from our participants after your presentation. We regularly receive inquiries for which standard products are often not sufficient. Moritz, you manage many of these projects. What exactly is a customized development at our company?
Thank you, Heiko, for the introduction. Yes, a CSS project can have many different forms. It can be just a minor adjustment like a customized cable, or it can be also a larger project like a completely custom housing, completely new electronics, software, or other topics we develop together with our customer. Okay, so let's start with the first question, and this is why we do customized projects. And these customized projects start usually when our customer has a requirement that cannot be covered from our standard camera portfolio. Often they come to us with a very specific request or a problem to solve. This can be different things like harsh environment conditions, a small installation space, or different wishes for connectors. But this can also be a modification on our standard camera, like a pre-mounted lens in our production, a frozen firmware version, or a pre-configured IP address for our GE camera. So the first step is the first contact or the customer request for a customized product. And yeah, normally we do this in a Teams meeting or a Zoom meeting, or also possible with an on-face appointment in Obersum or at a customer site. And in this first step, we discuss the rough solution approaches together. So IDS, and we try to understand the background of your application, and we can discuss about different feasibilities and options how we can solve the problem. Normally, after the first contact or the request, both sides take some tasks for themselves. So IDS can evaluate the first technical questions, and also the customer is often to provide some additional requirements or topics what he needs for his application. So the goal is that we have to get an idea about a rough solution and can start in the concept phase for this project. So from this point on, we go deeper in the technical solution. At IDS, we do a internal check of the requirements together with our research and development department, but also with our production team to have a look if we can solve all requirements and also can produce it cost efficiently. When we had that internal discussions, we come back to the customer, also maybe in a step in between, to discuss our concept and our proposal by IDS. And goal of this iteration is that we have alignment together with our customer on the technical specifications, but also very important on the costs for the NREs or also the serial prices for the camera. And when we come to a point where we have all these 3 points together, and the customer gives us the order for the development, we can start in the implementation and development phase. So this stage can vary depending on the requirements from the customer. So one project could be just a hardware project, or the other ones is an electronic project where we change something on the circuit diagram. In both options, we start the development and we share while the development phase whether the CID data or circuit diagrams we develop with our customers to discuss if everything is fine. And after the customer approves our drawings or data, we start the procurement of our prototype. This process helps us to minimize the risk for both sides because of our transparent process with the customer. And the more we check together and the proof that everything is fine, the lower the risks are at the end of the process. So the next step after the procurement of all the components we need for the customized project, we can start with the prototyping and testing phase, which is very important in the process. So first of all is the build-up of the prototypes. And as I said, sometimes we have to purchase some parts for the prototypes externally, but also we have huge possibilities inside of IDS to build up these prototypes. This could be, for example, with our own SMD assembly line for the electronic parts, or also other things we have for rapid prototyping like 3D printing or our own mechanical lab. When we build up the prototype, we can start testing and validate all the requirements we had before from the customer. So this is on electronic or mechanical requirements, and we have also the possibility to test the electronics in our own EMC lab here in Obersulm in Germany. We can also do tests with the cameras in our climate chamber. While IDS is testing, we also provide samples and prototypes to our customers, because we can test the requirements on our side, but it's also important for the customer to integrate the camera in their system and test all functionality of this product. Together with the feedback of the customer and our results of the testing and validation, we have a feedback session together, and then we can decide if we need a second loop. The serial production of the cameras is like our prototypes completely here in Obersulm in Germany. We have an own in-house industrial engineering department. In that department, we do all toolings for our production. We are very flexible in producing these customized components in a very cost-efficient way, because our production is very modular, and we are open to have some adaptations also in the production facilities to produce this customized product. But after the first delivery of the serial product, this project is not close to us because we also guarantee a long-term component availability for you. Together with our defined change management, we provide you a product which can be purchased for many, many years. And also, if we have some changes through the process, whether it's from customer side or from IDS side, we have the possibilities with our change management concept to have a look on these modifications on the product. This gives our customers planning security for the future. So in conclusion, what are the benefits for our customer to buy a customized product at IDS? As I mentioned, it's always close to serial production. When we speak about customizations or modifications, we always have a base camera with their modular system as base for a customization. So it's always cost efficient because the components are close to serial production, and also with our industrial engineering team, it's possible to produce them cost efficient. We have a fast and reliable process inside IDS for customization projects. This gives planning security for the customer and also quality security because of our quality gates we have. And with our own SMD line, rapid prototyping, EMC labor, and things like that, it's possible to have a very fast way while the development of this project, but also later for approval phases or certifications of the product. At IDS, we have a transparent development. This means every step in the project, the customer is involved and releases every quality gate together with IDS. And we also have the long-term support for our products and projects. So when some NRE costs and also an effort from customer side comes up with a customized project, the customer has the safety that this product is available for many, many years. So it's also a planning security for him. So to close this up, as I said, the customized camera solution is always developed for your specific requirements. But to give you also an idea, because it was today more about the process for our customized development, I want to show you some examples what our normal requirements or developments are for our product. I'm sure you are a little bit aware of our IDS standard camera portfolio. So on the top left, you can see a CP camera from our series where we have a pre-mounted and calibrated S-mount lenses to the working distance the customer required. This is possible with nearly all our cameras with a lens mount, and we can cover different distances like the customer requires. Also, a big part of our modification concept is the white labeling. So nearly every camera family is possible to have a printed housing on the camera, but also a printed firmware or the P-Host software to hide IDS as manufacturer of the camera and give the full corporate identity of the customer on our product. When we look on the top right and the bottom of the page, you can see many different options from our customized electronic development. And as you can see, here's nearly everything possible from round shapes to rectangles to to flex PCBs. Yeah, feel free to ask for your needs, for your space limitations or your environments. I'm sure we can find a solution and have a look together on your requirements. So thank you very much for your time. And now Heiko and me are waiting for your questions and how we can help you on customized projects.
So thank you very much, Moritz, for this interesting insights into the topic of customized development. So before we get into the Q&A, I would like to take the opportunity to launch a small survey with short 3 questions, which you are welcome to fill out along the way. This would help us to continue to prepare more Vision Channel content with topics that are interesting for you. So the survey must have started now. Okay, then let's come to the Q&A and see if there are already a bunch of open questions. A general question that many people might ask is it not that better to avoid custom developments for reason of cost, maintainability, failure scenarios, interchangeability, etc., both as camera manufacturer and as a user, Moritz?
Yeah, in general, these are all points which come to mind when you think about a customized development or a customized project. But as you could see in our video or in my explanation, IDS has a process for a customized development. And with that, it's possible for us to have a good and economic way to handle these projects. So we don't start at zero with our customized projects. We have a base and a system of components, what we can do. And together with our industrial engineering and our production department, it's possible to have also these customized projects in a very cost-efficient way. It can be fast, and due to our wide bandwidth of possibilities we have internally, we can also deal with changes and long-term availability.
Okay, thank you, Moritz. Another question. Could you perhaps explain a little bit more in detail what exactly is the advantage of having an own EMC chamber for camera development and thus also for special development, and what we use it for?
Yeah, when you talk about EMC topics, you have the certification process when it comes to your serial production. And at IDS, we have the possibility with our EMC chamber that we can get a time slot in that chamber in a quite near distance. So when you go to official laboratories, it could be possible that you have to wait a few weeks or even months to get an appointment at the chamber. And at IDS, we can do this alongside our development. And the benefit of that is that we can also bring our first prototypes in that EMC chamber to see how these cameras perform. So we don't have to wait until the serial product to test it in the official chamber, and we can avoid that something is wrong with the electronic or the camera, and we can handle this as fast as possible. So this brings the total time from start of the project until serial release to a shorter time slot.
Okay, and also in the area of 3D printing, it might be interesting to mention where we use it and how our customers can benefit from it.
Yeah. So when we talk about the CSS projects, we often talk about larger numbers with many of hundreds or even thousands of cameras per year. So for serial production, we have, for example, an injection molding housing or something like that, which have also a little bit of time for the tooling of the molding injection production tools. So we can start in the prototype phase with a 3D printed housing, or we can print out something in the form factor of our customized development PCBs to try and fit in the customer application in our housing or something else in a very fast way. So we don't have to wait too long. We don't take the risks that we have to order a tooling too fast. And this also leads to a shorter time and reduces risks and cost in the development.
Okay, here we have another question from the audience. What are your firmware development capabilities? What platforms are supported? The presentation mostly covered hardware design, prototyping, and testing. Can you say something to this?
Thank you for the question. So our main focus is, as we said in the presentation, to have the adaptions based on our standard camera portfolio and also in the functionality. And the standard adaptions we have for firmware and hardware is for the branding of our firmware. So to bring a customer name into our firmware or also in the peak host software to hide IDS as manufacturer of the camera and the software. It's also possible when the functionality of the IDS cameras are not sufficient, that we talk about features which we can bring into our cameras. But we don't do a complete firmware or development for our customers. We focus on getting our standard products as strong as possible.
Okay, thank you, Moritz. I hope that helped. As we wait for more questions, I would like to draw your attention to our next sessions and how-to videos in October and November. As you can see here, in the how-to video, we will once again address the topic of colored 3D data and explain the procedure while also discussing differences in workflow and advantages of different technologies and camera models to assist you in selecting the most suitable camera. And with the live session in end of November, we will be taking a closer look at the well-known terms such as trigger, flash, and I/O, and we want to show how their tasks have evolved today with completely new and different categories of industrial cameras, what additional tasks they are used for today, and what you need to keep it in mind when planning applications in this context. And there will be even more topics to come. Just come by and find out more. It's really worth it. So we look forward to see you in the next Vision Channel session. As I see there are no more unanswered questions, then I would like to thank you very much, Moritz, for this very interesting and informative Vision Channel session. I see we have another question. I think we take this again. We are an independent assembly house for image sensors and can assist IDS with customer-specific sensor solutions, even in small quantities, as well as providing fast service. When it comes to chip on board, it can be even more customer specific, starting from wafer sawing to testing in an ISO 5 clean room. Can you say something to this?
Yeah. So I think at IDS, as discussed, we can cover also many of these points. So maybe also interesting to get in touch afterwards and discuss all the topics you have.
So, okay, then I think there are no questions anymore. So we look forward to see you again in the next sessions. Until then, I would say thank you for listening. Thank you, Moritz. Until then, take care, and I wish you all a good working week. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you.